Welcome back, guys. Or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the 2026 Subaru Forester. But more specifically, this is the premium trim level. So it's the same trim level that we actually own in our 2025 model year Forester, and it's in a brand new pink color never before offered on the Forester model. This is Dark Mahogany Pearl, and it looks absolutely fantastic in person. But despite this being a very popular compact crossover, potentially one of the safest, most off-road capable, and all-around comfortable ones that you could potentially consider, it's not perfect. So today I'm going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about the Subaru Forester after owning one of these for a year and a half, to help you guys at home decide if it might be the right vehicle for you, or if you should leave it at the lot and look at its competitors. So today you can expect to see a walk around, all the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on GPS, and then my final thoughts. And huge thanks to Twin Falls Subaru in Southern Idaho for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link them below if you're interested because they sell below MSRP. They'll ship anywhere in the country, but also huge thanks to Lasfit, our channel sponsor. More on them in a few minutes. Let's dive right in with this review. And thank you so much for choosing to watch car videos on YouTube. But if you get anything out of this video, you like the Subaru Forester, or you just appreciate the effort it took to make the video, please consider liking it, comment your thoughts and opinions below, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much. But if you're new to Subaru, or their Forester, a few interesting things that you should probably know is that Subaru is a Japanese automaker. Just like Toyota and Honda, they're actually one of the best. They're known for building safe, affordable, and reliable automobiles, and last year Consumer Reports rated them #1 in expected reliability. This year, I think they're #2 on the list. I'll try to overlay that on the screen right here. But Subaru has actually been putting out Subaru Foresters ever since the 1997 model year. This is a compact crossover. It's sold in a few different markets. It competes heavily against the Toyota RAV4 and the Honda CR-V, and here in the United States, we get around 150,000 of them every single year. But this one was actually built in the United States. Last year, it was built in Japan, but Subaru did a switcheroo and they swapped the assembly plants for the Outback and the Forester. I don't quite know yet if the new 2026 hybrid Foresters are assembled in Japan like the Crosstreks are. I wouldn't be surprised if they are, but the gas-powered ones like this are only assembled in the United States. Anyways, this is still one of the most affordable compact crossovers you can buy. A base model starts at about $30,000, and there still is a technical base model to the Forester, which is pretty cool. But this is the premium. It's the second lowest trim level, just above the base, and it starts a little bit over $33,000 after destination, delivery, and the very few options that this has. But before the Twin Falls Subaru discount, it's only about a $35,000 vehicle, which I know is not necessarily cheap, but in our times, in the year that we're living in, that's actually a pretty reasonable deal. So what does it have to offer for about $35,000? I want to give you the reasons why we personally bought a Subaru Forester Premium, and it really does relate back to my opening lines of these are extremely safe, comfortable, and off-road capable. First of all, safety. This vehicle is primarily my wife's daily driver, so we want it to be safe. I don't want to risk anyone's safety, any occupants, family members, friends who ride with us. And the Forester is incredibly safe. It is not only a 5-star crash test rating, but it's actually been awarded the top safety pick rating by the IIHS. So it has really good crumple zones to help slow down the impact of accidents, to help protect you and your family. A lot of tech, like safety features, like really bright LED headlights, fog lights. Ours has blind spot monitoring. It has adaptive cruise and lane keep assist, and those systems all work really well. But I have heard so many stories from you guys commenting on my hundreds of videos, commenting on the forums, and also just telling me in person that these things are incredibly safe and that some sort of Subaru saved your life. So we didn't want to take any chances. Which leads us to point number 2, the capability of this car. It has 8.7 inches of ground clearance, a mechanical torque vectoring all-wheel drive system. It's not a slip and grip reactionary system. These things are super capable, especially with a competent set of tires. And while the factory tires are adequate, they're basic OEM tires, these things are incredible in the winter, incredible in the rain, and if you go hiking, you go down trailheads, you go snowboarding, a Forester or any Subaru with symmetrical all-wheel drive system and a decent set of tires is going to surprise you at how comfortable and capable it is on the road. But additionally, comfort. Even though this has cloth seats, they're heated, they're nice, they feel good, the visibility is fantastic. This is one of the smoothest driving vehicles that you can currently buy, especially under $50,000. It might not be the quietest thing on the road. Ours doesn't have the upgraded speakers, but overall, this is a very pleasant, easy to drive, easy to live with vehicle. And those are a few of the reasons why we personally bought one. And we finally get to thank today's channel sponsor, Lasfit. I know a lot of you guys have heard of them before, but if you haven't, they make a few different products, but they've really become well known for making some of the best name brand floor mats in the business. I've driven a lot of vehicles, and if you guys follow my channel, you know I have hundreds of videos of vehicles, and most of them have one thing in common. Their floor mats are not very good. This is just the basic cloth-free floor mat on the Forester. There's not a lot of surface area. It doesn't cover the dead pedal. There's no ridges or grooves to separate your feet from the water, so these are just going to absorb and get pretty gross and quickly sink through and spill over to the actual vehicle carpet. And there's just not a lot of rigidity. When you lift this thing up to pull it out, it quickly spills, it flips and it flops around. There's really not a lot of rigidity. And the floor mats in the back honestly aren't any better. But if you want the Lasfit mats for the Forester, you can get them for the front row, the second row, the cargo mat, and the seat back protectors with my discount code of AA20 for 20% off. And in total, it only comes to about $160 right now. So not only are they cheaper than the Subaru all-weather mats, but they're a whole lot better. After using the all-weather mats on our Subaru for about a year, we replaced them with the Lasfit, and I'm so glad that we did. There's a lot more protection. They're laser fitted, so they fit better than this thing. There's more sidewall. It actually goes up to the dead pedal. And then higher quality rubbers, deeper grooves to separate you from the liquid. And they're a whole lot more rigid, so when you do take them out of the vehicle to spray them down, they're going to hold the mess in place. So thank you Lasfit for sponsoring today's video, and check them out. AA20 gets you 20% off through the rest of the year. We have just an average 2-car garage, and this thing fits just fine next to our Toyota RAV4. Overall, I think they're pretty easy to park. They're very nimble to drive, and they're just very manageable on the road. But they're also big enough at highway and interstate speeds to handle their own quite well. Overall, it's about 15.3 feet long. The wheelbase is about 8.75. It has a pretty good stance to it at 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall, and then being a non-hybrid, it weighs around 3,500 pounds. All the Foresters have a 900-pound payload capacity. This one, being a non-wilderness, can tow up to 1,500 pounds if properly equipped, and then has 8.7 inches of ground clearance, a 370 final axle ratio, and it can do a full circle in a very impressive 35 feet. The last couple things to mention out here is that the gas door is located on the passenger side, and when you lock the vehicle, the gas door locks. So you don't have to worry about the bumps trying to siphon any of your 16.6 gallons of fuel. The way this one is configured, with a 17-inch wheel, it is rated for about 26 around town, 33 on the highway per the EPA. And I do have to say, with our Subaru Forester, if we're being pretty conservative on it and only driving around town and the highway, it probably does get about 29 to 30 mpg, but sometimes at interstate speeds, if we're on a road trip going 80 miles an hour, it only gets around 27, so keep that in mind. And then it has a square stance. The new wheel size for the Forester Premium is a 235/60/17, and it does have a temporary spare compact tire underneath the cargo floor, which is really nice. And then this is your key. You have lock, unlock, power liftgate if you have that package, panic button, but just leave it in your pocket because you still have proximity key features right here to lock and unlock the vehicle. Driver's side door panel of the Forester is nice. The Premium has a door card. It has some cheaper plastics, but they're going to age well. They're going to hold up pretty reasonably. And then this has some of the biggest windows that I've ever seen on a compact crossover. We've already talked about the mats, rubberized pedals, you have a knee airbag, hood release, fuse box, a lot of blank buttons. You have vents, lighting stock, tilt and telescoping wheel. It is leather wrapped, heated, powered, adjusted driver's seat. It's very comfortable. And then a power panoramic moonroof up top. Sitting inside the Forester is very nice, very comfortable. The belt line of the vehicle is low, again adding to incredible visibility through huge windows. And I want you guys to look for the headlights when I fire this thing up. They should do a theatrical display. That's the steering responsive feature. It's pretty cool. Otherwise, let's see how long the screen takes to adjust everything. It's super cold outside. It says 43. It feels like it's 23. Anyways, if we go through info, this is what you have. I like the analog gauges in this. If you opt for the 2026 Forester Wilderness, you actually get a digital display cluster. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. And then this is your horn. It's high-pitched. This is the screen. Every year it seems to get better, so this is maybe even a tad more responsive than ours. Auto start stop, auto vehicle hold. Takes, you know, sometimes just a second depending on what it's doing. Screen powering off. I'm kind of surprised that that took so long, actually. Anyways, you guys can hopefully see there's a little bit of a light right there to illuminate on your wireless charger in your phone. You have some plugins down there. The backup camera does not look great, especially when there's the factory screen protector on this, so keep that in mind, but thankfully, trajectory lines do move. The Premium has only X mode stage 1, which for most people is going to be enough to get you out of a situation. And then you have a redesigned center console with the phone holder. Electronic parking brake, some cup holders, and some storage. Otherwise, just your basic controls, sunglass holder, LED lights, incandescent light. But I've got to say, Dark Mahogany Pearl looks fantastic. It almost masks all the black plastic cladding that I know is not for everyone. But on this paint color, I know the Mahogany Pearl is going to look dirty, you know, pretty easily because it is a dark color and it might show scratches. But holy cow, does it look really good in person. It looks like a very rich color, and the door is, of course, locked. Anyways, door panel is nice, same type of materials as the front. There are some cheaper plastics, but I'm okay with it. At least you get a soft touch door card, and Subaru didn't skimp out and just give you a plastic piece right there. You can also see that the Moroni sticker, which sometimes takes up the whole window in a compact crossover, is pretty small looking compared to this one. And then this is your bench seat. It is a 40-60 split. You do have a little bit of recline with the handles down here, or you can drop them with the handles up here, or the cloth straps. That's a new feature for this year compared to the nub that these used to have. And even with the driver's seat really reclined, more so than I would actually use it at 5'11", I still have a lot of room in front of my knees, if you guys can see that. I have vents, plugins, fold-down armrest, and even with the panoramic moonroof up top, I still have maybe that much room above my hat. It's not as much as the new Outback, but it's enough for a compact crossover that's only 15 feet long. This is actually pretty decent. The back of the Forester Premium looks nice. You have the fixed roof rails, shark fin antenna, the third brake light, the wiper blade, Forester stamped in, and you still have a little bit of hope that someday there'll be a dual exhaust system for a turbo. The Forester Wilderness actually eliminated that, and now it's only a single outlet in the bumper, so I don't think it's going to come, but it would be cool. This does not have the power liftgate package, which is why it's barely a $35,000 MSRP. And back here, being a non-base model, you have about 27.5 cubic feet. If you drop the seats, you have up to about 69.1, and the seats lay nearly flat. Underneath the cargo floor, you do have the temporary spare. You can usually hide the privacy shade if you don't want that thing to be out. And then you have a 12-volt, some bag clips, some tie downs, just the basic things, and a little bit of extra storage behind the wheel wells. Coming around to the passenger side, I again think that the plastic cladding is pretty well hidden by the paint. See how shiny the paint is? Seriously, it looks so nice. I bet on a sunny day you can really detect a lot of metallic flake. This one does not have turn signals on the side or the blind spot monitoring nub, unfortunately, because it doesn't have the optional package. It also doesn't have a power passenger seat, just manual, but it is heated. The backpack seems to be content. No transmission tunnel or above the glove box storage. It's also not even locking, which is unfortunate. And it's adequately sized. No 12 volts or anything under there either, though. So with that said, let's come around to the front, pop the hood, and I'll show you what the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated Boxer looks like. Under the hood is the dual overhead camshaft 16 valve 2.5 liter direct injection Boxer engine. You can see a valve cover, a head. The block is made to the two halves, another head, and another valve cover. You have the upper intake manifold, alternator, serpentine belt, top mount oil filter, all the reservoirs, battery, fuse box, air filter before the throttle body right there. Very mechanical. Again, the Dark Mahogany Pearl, it looks really nice even under the engine bay. This one also has the sound dampening, the extra protection. Some of the cross trucks I've driven for 2026 don't have that anymore. But this overall looks like a really nice engine. There's no longer a thermo control valve, so it has a mechanical thermostat. This does have the 8 simulated gear CVT, but honestly on the forums I really don't hear about any problems with this powertrain. The engine seems to be pretty darn reliable. And again, it only makes about 180 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque, so it's not overly stressed. And this thing is built to last. The CVT, if ever failed outside of warranty, it could be very expensive to replace. But after owning 3 new Subarus, I've had 0 problems with any of them and any of the cars I've ever test driven. So Subarus seem to be pretty solid these days. But what are your thoughts? Comment below. Otherwise, let's drop the hood, take it for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the 2026 Subaru Forester Premium. Let's lightly get up to speed. Other than looking at the body panels, the paint colors, and a few interior trim piece differences, I really cannot tell that this is any different than our personally owned 2025 Forester Premium. The fit and the finish feel basically the exact same as our last year Japanese built example. Visibility, if you're new to the Forester, it's the best in the business. I have not driven a compact crossover, at least of the dozen other competitors that I've driven, that beat this in terms of visibility. The windows are huge. Depending on your preferences, with this powered seat, you can easily get to a higher or a lower driving position. But even keeping it down low, feels like you have a lot of headroom. And I'm 5'11", even with the panoramic sunroof. This thing is really nice. Leather-wrapped steering wheel feels good in the hand. It's not heated on this one, and it's very responsive. It really doesn't take very much before you start to change directions, which can be a problem at interstate speeds going 80 miles an hour when it is in lane keep assist. Several changes make big differences in the direction that you're going. I also wish this had more storage capacity on the interior, maybe a transmission tunnel or above the glove box storage bin. But when you get on the brakes, there's a little bit of a squish before you really feel anything, and then it's pretty sharp, and they do a good job. Handling is fantastic. Even though this is not an overly powerful 4-cylinder engine, should be extremely reliable, especially with the new changes for this new generation. And the CVT feels just fine. Sometimes it'll fake a shift. Sometimes it'll carry out the RPM at its peak power band, especially if you're doing an acceleration run. But overall, this is a very pleasant driving experience. Sure, the speakers aren't fantastic. The heated seats are not the hottest in class, but these cloth seats, the exact same ones as our Forester, I think they're pretty nice. And overall, I can't recommend the Forester enough. This is a vehicle that we actually put our money where our mouth is, and we purchased one. And after about 7,000 miles and a year and a half of ownership, I have no complaints with it. But let's get to the private road and we'll do a 0 to 60. 0 to 60 in the 2026 Subaru Forester non-hybrid. Density altitude is about 3,500, so we are down on power probably 10 to 12%. We're in sport mode, traction off, brake rev. Let's go. RPM's holding like they should. True 0 to 60 came in at 9.38 seconds. My final thoughts of the 2026 Subaru Forester Premium is there are a few subtle changes over our Crystal White Pearl 2025 example, but honestly it feels like the same car, the same formula. It feels just as solid as ours does after a year and a half. Even though this is American built and not Japan built, this is still such a nice vehicle. I love that Subaru is pumping out new paint colors. I do like that they are slowly making subtle changes, but ultimately it's the same formula. It's safe, it's reliable, it's comfortable, and it's very off-road capable. Those are my thoughts, those are my opinions. That's why we personally decided to buy one of these. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions though. There's a lot of really good competitors to this. I highly recommend you test drive them. Just because me, or maybe your friend, maybe a family member purchased a Subaru, doesn't mean it's the right vehicle for you, but it might mean that it's worth potentially considering a test drive and see what you think for yourself. Anyways, comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video if you got anything out of it that helps the video get shared. And check out Twin Falls Subaru and Lasfit. They are fantastic companies to work with, and I wish you guys the best. Until next time, see ya.